Hey everybody, and welcome to the Hannah channel. I'm Liz and we have little Mr. AJ here. I am feeding him. He is very hungry all the time. He is weighing about 9 pounds 4 ounces right now, which is pretty good right now. I am very proud of him. Lately we've had kind of like a bump in the road with him, and that's what I'm going to explain to you. I couldn't really explain it when I was in the certain part of the rough patch with him. I didn't want to be rude to anybody because the walls were thin for where we were, so they probably would have heard me talking, and I don't want to be uncomfortable, like, oh, why is that girl just talking to nobody? She's only in the room with a baby. So a few days before I had brought AJ to his pediatrician, he started picking up with projectile vomiting. I did certain things to change it before I brought him into the doctor's because I didn't want the doctor to be like, oh, did you do this? Did you do that? Did you do this? So I was like, all right, I'm going to put my mom's sense to the test. And he would only puke like projectile vomit like once a day. And I thought maybe it was because the bottles weren't correct and he needed bottles for colic. So I changed his bottles, then I thought, oh, maybe he needs to be burped longer. So I'd burp him for like 45 minutes to an hour sometimes. I would just sit there and pat his back, like on and off. Then that didn't work, so I was like, all right, maybe it's the formula. Let me change it to an acid reflux formula. So I went to Enfamil AR. That didn't work. And the puking became more frequent, and he would really puke all over me. I'd be going through so many outfits. He'd be going through so many outfits. I'd have to like clean blankets, the couch, my bed. It was a nightmare with it. So I called his pediatrician on Friday, and they were like, oh, you need to come in to be seen because it's projectile vomiting. I was like, all right. So they got me in the first thing appointment. So I had my mom come watch Genevieve. I went to the pediatrician office by myself, just me and him. Went in. They advised me that I needed to take him to Stony Brook ER because he could have something called, I'm going to butcher it. It's such an easy saying. I just don't know why I like see the writing in my head and then like I like don't pronounce it right. But it's it's because it's a P. Kills me. Polaric stenosis. There we go. The PY crap messes me up. I don't know why. I kept like trying to pronounce it in the hospital and I couldn't. But it is polaric stenosis. There we go. I knew how to say it. It just took me a little bit to get to it. It's not a hard word to say. But anyway, the doctor had drawn me a diaphragm of his stomach and how the polaric muscle is supposed to be like a ring shape, but sometimes it gets thickened and his like stuff that he drinks can't get through. So it's just that muscle is pushing it back up. So it's just going out instead of going in. And he did lose a lot of weight. He went from being 9'1" to being 8'9", which is bad because obviously he wasn't getting enough food and stuff like that. He was keeping some of it down, just not a lot of it. So I didn't want it to get to a point. He was lower than what he was when he was born. Got me nervous. I was trying not to cry in the pediatrician office because I had to bring my poor baby to the hospital and he might have to have surgery. So I was freaking out. So after she was done drawing the diaphragm, she's like, all right, get him dressed and then I'll give you the like vitals and stuff like that and you could go. So she gave it to me. I got in the car. I started hysterical crying. I called John. I had him come home from work. We figured that since he is an infant, we could go to the hospital together because normally it is allowed to have two parents with the child, and I kind of didn't want to do it by myself because I was just a wreck and I was crying and stuff like that. Like, how could I go through this by myself? I just felt like I'm not that strong and stuff. So I was kind of relieved when John's mom had told us that there was 2 parents allowed, and the website kind of said support persons. So I figured since it's not person, it's persons, that it'd be okay. So anyway, John met me at the house, and I had packed up Genevieve for his mom's house for when his mom came to pick up her from the house, because my mom was here watching her till then, and my mom was available if she needed anything. So after we got that ready, I kind of just grabbed some stuff for Anthony and like chargers and stuff like that, just in case I was there for a long time, because it's not guaranteed that he's gonna have what the doctor at his pediatrician said that he was gonna have. So it was just like, go get an ultrasound done, and if it is, he'll probably need surgery. If it's not, then they'll have to figure out what it is. So this was around, I want to say it was like around 4 o'clock now. We had a half-hour drive to Stony Brook, because it's kind of far from us. I feel like all hospitals except for like Brookhaven, which is like right around the corner. We don't like Brookhaven. It's a very shitty hospital. So we get to Stony Brook, we pull up. The valet guy makes us aware that right now it's only 1 parent through the ER. He's not sure if, say, Anthony gets admitted, if there is another parent allowed. So I'm just hoping that it's like my time having a miscarriage there, where the ER part was just me, and then the labor and delivery part was me and John. So here I am. We're both out of the car right now. We're trying to decide who's going in, which obviously was going to be me, because John said he wasn't going in by himself. He would only go in if I was going in. He doesn't feel comfortable dealing with all like the medical stuff, because he's not good at relaying stuff. So here I am, like a wreck still. I'm a little more of a wreck now that I know I have to be by myself. But John's telling me that I'm strong and that he's going to need his mom. So that's why I have to go in by myself. And I'm like, I don't really know what to do. Like, I don't do well with watching Anthony be in pain. I wouldn't want to be watching Jenna be in pain either. Like, give the pain to me. Like, I'll do everything myself. Like, I'll take it all. So here I am now, getting ready to go inside by myself. Who knows when I'm going to see John next? Who knows if he's going to be allowed to come up and be with me and Anthony if he does get admitted and he does need the surgery. So I take everything that I need. I say goodbye to John. I tell him not to go too far. I'm going to go inside and I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to ask and just keep asking about parent thing till I find out. So we go in. He gets registered. They bring us over to the pediatric ER. He gets weighed. He gets his pulse ox taken. They ask what's going on. We let them know. They put us in a room. They have us wait. We see a resident. We see a doctor. We explain everything that's going on. They say that they're waiting for the ultrasound to be ready, and then they'll bring us in. And then if anything, they're going to do blood work. And then if anything, they're going to put in an IV in him. So we just need to see the ultrasound first in order to know what is really going to go on. Sorry, Genevieve's coming up now. She's just going through the wrong side. I didn't want her to smush Anthony over here. Here she is. Oh, she had a little E in her hair from the door stickers for Valentine's Day. So finally, after the doctor's done examining him, it's time for ultrasound. So here I am thinking that they're just going to take him away from me and do the ultrasound with him without me. So they're like, all right, Mom, hold him, get on the bed. We're going to take you to ultrasound. I was like, okay. So they put me on, I got on the bed, sitting up. They push the seat up, like the bed up, so that way it's not laying flat. It's sitting up. And they wheel me and AJ in the bed all the way to ultrasound. It was kind of weird. Everyone was like saying how cute AJ was as he's being strolled to ultrasound. Finally, we get to ultrasound. They have us waiting outside in the hallway. They bring us in. It's a dark room. There's a really nice ultrasound lady. She asks what's going on. I pulled down his zipper on his onesie. She puts the gel on his belly. He's sleeping away through this whole entire thing. Then she's like, he's going to have to drink something for the next ultrasound. I was like, all right, I'm going to see if he'll drink it because he's sleeping. Hopefully he'll wake up. Now it's time to have him drink the drink. And she's like, don't worry, take your time. I was like, all right, he's not waking up. He is not waking up at all. I got worried because it's dark in the room. It's a little warm. He's wrapped in his blanket. I was like, I got to check if he's breathing. I don't want to be like, oh no, I got to check if my baby's breathing to her. I don't want to be like one of those moms. So I checked to make sure he's still breathing. He's still breathing. Such a relief. I don't know. I was so worried about his breathing throughout this whole entire trip. So he didn't want to drink it. I kept trying to tickle the top lip. I kept trying to rub his cheeks. And he just wasn't waking up. I was like, come on, dude. I picked him up a little more off my arm. Wasn't waking up. And she's like, all right, he has some stuff left in his system. So I'm going to see if I can utilize that to get the pictures that the doctor wants. So thankfully, it was good enough to where she could get the pictures. And she's like, all right, just relax here. Transport's going to come get you, and then they're going to bring you back to your room, and then a doctor will be in to speak with you. I was like, all right. So then we got wheeled back to the room. Maybe like an hour and a half later, the doctor finally comes in and explains to me that it is pyloric stenosis and that he is indeed going to need a surgery. So with the ultrasound, he couldn't eat for 3 hours. He didn't eat since 2:40, and now it's like going on like 7 o'clock. I feel bad because he hasn't eaten still, and he can't eat, and I'm told that he can't eat until after his surgery, like 3 hours after his surgery. So now I'm here like, what am I going to do? My poor baby's going to starve throughout the whole night. I'm going to have to deal with it all by myself, and it's going to be a nightmare. So I'm just like not looking forward to it. Like, I just want to feed my baby. Even if he is going to throw up, I don't mind wearing his throw up. I have no change of clothes, so if he throws up on me, I'm just going to be in throw up the whole entire time. I still don't have a hairbrush, so now I'm going to be messy haired, dirty Liz throughout this whole entire thing. So the doctor's like, just sit tight. They're going to come in, draw his blood, and put an IV in him, and we're going to get him started on IV fluids to keep him hydrated. And they're going to check his levels because the levels need to be at a certain point for him to get the surgery. And a surgery team will be in soon to speak with you and get the paperwork signed so that we don't have to worry about it tomorrow. And then tomorrow morning he'll get the surgery. So after you get the IV and the surgery team comes in and stuff like that, they'll get you admitted and you'll be going into a different wing. You're going to be going in the PICU for the remainder of your stay. So here I am. I'm telling John. I'm trying to get information on if John's allowed to come up when we get there and how that is. So the information I got was that from 8 to 8, he's allowed there, only one parent overnight. Oh, he's pooping. Anthony's pooping. So, finally, we get up to a room. I asked them how I'm supposed to get my food from John, because John brought me up, like, Red Bull and just stuff from 7-Eleven. So they're like, oh, he's got to bring it to the children's part of the hospital and drop it off with the security guard. So my nurse was nice enough when they brought us up to the room and got us settled into the room that they allowed him to come up, like John come up for like 10 minutes to drop off my food and just like say hi to the baby and see me. And then they had to write down his name and his phone number because there's only like 2 set visitors. So I'm like the automatic visitor, and then John's like the secondary visitor, and he was only allowed from 11 to 8 So that was that. It wasn't 8 to 8, it's 11 to 8. So we discussed what was going to go on. Genevieve was going to stay at his mom's house overnight, and John was going to go to work the next day. And I was going to find out the information about his surgery and like what time, because we weren't exactly sure what was going on exactly throughout like the whole entire day. It was kind of just like one thing after another. Like they came in and did it right away. Sorry, Genevieve wants juice. Here's juice, Genevieve. Here you go. Here. Right. She's got her juice. So, I didn't know what time the surgery was or anything until the next morning. I got through the night, didn't sleep at all. The nurses kept coming and going to take his vitals, just make sure he was okay. He had to get a COVID test. He got his COVID test done, which was very sad to see. Never in a million years did I think my under 1 month infant was gonna ever have to get a COVID test. I've only gotten a COVID test twice since COVID's been going on. Once was because John ended up getting COVID and I was pregnant, and we had this one in the house, so we kind of banished John to the basement. We didn't get it, we're good. And then when I was in the hospital delivering him, I had to get a COVID test just to make sure I was good, because there's protocol with it. So the next morning, I'm like running on no sleep. Thank goodness I have Red Bull. Red Bull kind of helps me a little bit. They come in maybe around like 8 to prep him for surgery, like get him into his like half shirt thing and just make sure his hospital bracelets are on him and everything is where it needs to be. They also came in at 6 o'clock and drew his blood through his foot, also because they needed to check his levels again, because if his levels weren't good, he wouldn't have been able to have the surgery. But thank goodness for the IV and stuff like that, his levels were where they needed to be. So within like the next half hour to an hour, he'd be having surgery. So it was just kind of like a rushed-in thing, I guess you can say. And the surgeon came in, spoke to me, explained that it's like laparoscopic and that they go in above the belly button and they cut his pyloric muscle from a circle to a U, so that way everything could pass through. Genevieve, you gotta leave him alone, he's sleeping. She loves to give her brother kisses, and if she sees the bottles out of his mouth and stuff like that, or the binky, she'll try to give it to him. And she's very rough. She doesn't know how to be that easy right now. She still doesn't understand, but she's like his advocate. So she thinks she needs to mother him, I guess. Or she thinks that we need to attend to him 24/7. Like if he starts crying a little bit, it's like, you need to go attend to him right away. Otherwise, I'm going to continue to freak out. Genevieve, leave my hat alone. So I had let John know that he was going to be getting surgery soon and that I'd update him with the process. Here I am, like, terrified that he's going to get surgery. So I'm, like, obviously, like, thinking the worst, but trying to stay positive. They said that when it's time for him to have surgery, I'll go down, they'll wheel him in his crib to surgery, and I'll be in the front part where I'm going to talk with the anesthesiologist and the surgeon again, and then I'm going to sign stuff. The surgeon came in after we were wheeled down. Transport probably came to get us like 10 minutes later after they were done prepping him. We went to the surgery wing. The doctor that was doing the surgeon that was doing the surgery came in and explained everything, how the surgery works. He drew like a diaphragm and stuff like that. I didn't have any questions on it. My friend actually works for this surgeon's office, and she said he's a really good surgeon, so I wasn't worried at all, and he's been doing this for like 30 years. He was like, all right, now the anesthesiologist will be in soon to speak with you, and then we'll get you out in the waiting room and we'll take him in. So the anesthesiologist came in after, like, the resident anesthesiologist came in. He explained to me the procedure of how they're going to put Anthony to sleep and put a breathing tube in his mouth. And they like asked me when the last time he threw up was, because he did throw up on the way to bringing him to the OR. And they were like, oh, if the breathing tube's in and he throws up, it could go into his lungs and that's an issue. And he had to like prep me for that there could be another issue going on if he does throw up while the breathing tube's in his mouth. So now here I am, not so worried about the whole surgery thing. Like, my nerves were calmed, and now I'm like almost in tears, like, because now my baby could be hurt by throwing up during this procedure. And like, he just threw up not that long ago, and now I'm afraid he's gonna throw up during the surgery. So like, now I'm just like a mess. Like, I'm trying not to let them know that I'm a mess. But then when the resident left, I was like, all right, oh great, like now this is like really hit me. Once this anesthesiologist comes in, they're gonna take him. So then like 5 minutes later, the anesthesiologist came in, asked if I had any questions, asked if somebody explained everything to me. They did. And then they're like, all right, Mom, you could go wait in the waiting room. The nurse brought me out to the waiting room. It was just like a big empty area, and it was kind of closed down. They allowed me to do it because I had to be close for my infant son, obviously. And they had like a board where it said where they were in the order. So, and I just sat there for like an hour and 15 minutes, hour and a half while he had his surgery done. The surgeon did come out like first while he was like, the board said he was still in OR, but it was like an orange red color, so that got me nervous that the surgeon was coming out and it said still in OR, and it was like a red orange, and red kind of raises a flag to me. He came out and he said that AJ did great and they were able to fix it, and I'd be able to see him in like 30 minutes. Sorry when you saw me like give a face when Genevieve grabbed me. I got a tattoo on my arm and she keeps grabbing it, and it's only less than a day old and it hurts so bad. So bad. So a half hour goes by, a lady comes out into the waiting room and asks if I'm here for Anthony, and she brings me back. Now I'm having a little bit of like a flashback, because my mom was in the same recovery room when she got her surgery done there in Stony Brook. So we go in, there's a bunch of curtains, there's a bunch of people who got surgery done, and I'm just like freaking out because all these like rooms are close to each other, and it's not like a room, they're just separated by curtains. So I go, and he's in his little crib and he's just sleeping, and there's a bunch of people around and they're saying how cute the baby is and how he did so good and just like all that. So they brought in this recliner thing so I could sit down next to them while they monitor him in recovery. I get in the seat, they give me him. He, honestly, it like broke my heart seeing him. It was probably like one of the worst days of my life. He was very in and out of it when I was holding him. And honestly, it was like the first time that I like really broke down. And like the nurse saw me and she's like, it's okay. And I was like, it's just hard like seeing my child like this. He was just making these little coo noises, like he couldn't stay awake. And it was just nothing that I ever want to do again. Being alone, not knowing when John's gonna come there, and then I'm gonna have to be okay myself. And I like don't want him to get like know that I'm upset about it. So I had to like stop crying because I didn't want everybody to see me crying. And I have like a video and like pictures of him because I had to send them to John to like show him because he can't see this and he can't be through with the process and stuff. So like I still have the video, and it's like such a heartbreaking video because you can tell that he's just exhausted. He's hungry, and now he can't eat for 3 hours, and it was just rough. I feel bad for parents that have to go through stuff like this or go through worse stuff. I don't know how anybody does it, because I'm obviously not that strong to be like a parent to like children that have to go through these things. Like, I had such an easy time with Genevieve, and now he's giving me a run for my money. So after recovery, he got set up in his crib again, and then we were brought back up to the room, and we had to wait 3 hours, and he got started on Pedialyte. He drank a little bit, like an ounce of Pedialyte. Then if he kept that down, he would move on to formula in 3 hours, and he'd have 2 ounces of formula. And then if he kept that down, 3 hours later, he'd have more formula. And if he kept that down, that was a trigger that meant he was going to come home. So if he threw up during the process, we would start back from the beginning to the Pedialyte and then go from there. And it was just like repeat, repeat, repeat. So once we got back to the room, we waited like an hour and a half for him to start his Pedialyte. John wasn't there when we started the Pedialyte. He was going to be coming up after work, just straight from work to the hospital. John ended up being there for his first formula feeding, which was nice that he could help me with it. Anthony did spit up a little bit while we were giving him the formula. We called in the nurse. The nurse said that was okay, and that doesn't count. It only counts if he pukes or projectile vomits. But the doctor had explained to me that it might happen a few times where he pukes because his stomach's so used to puking. But thankfully, like, he didn't. But the next formula feeding that we had was when John left. John had gone home to go get Genevieve. That way they can spend time together, and she can sleep home that night because she might have to sleep at his mom's house Sunday into Monday because John has work on Monday. And I might still be in the hospital Sunday night into Monday. It depends on how his eating goes and how his recovery is going. So once John left, maybe like a half hour to 45 minutes later, it was time for his second feeding. He was eating it, and then he puked. He puked while the nurse was in there, like after he was done eating, and we had to start back from the beginning. So since he puked at a certain time, that's when we started the 3 hours. So the next thing, which would be the Pedialyte, and that would have been at like what time? Like 2:30, 3 o'clock. And the overnight nurse knows that I didn't really sleep. I slept like 20 minutes while John was there, and it was hard for me to sleep because Anthony kept crying because he just wanted food. He obviously wanted to be back to his regular himself. He was just sleepy and stuff, and I feel like because he still had the IV in his arm and they had it at 22, that he was being hydrated enough. He just wanted to sleep off because of the anesthesia and stuff like that. And he's not going to be able to hold this food down all the way. I feel like he's just going to fail this whole entire thing, and I'm not going to be going home for a few days. So thankfully, the night nurse was like, I'll do his feeding and I'll keep coming back in here to check on him if you want to go down for like a nap or something like that, because I know it's hard. I was like, all right, I'll try. So I did sleep for maybe like 45 minutes to an hour. She tried to give him the Pedialyte. He only took like half of it, like half an ounce. And he just didn't want it anymore. He was done with it. Like, it was just disgusting. Like, I wouldn't even want it. It was like unflavored Pedialyte. So she's like, if you want to try, you can. When I got up, she was like, you could try if you want. If not, I know he doesn't want to eat. It seems like he's just tired and just wants to sleep. So then another nurse came in to check his vitals maybe like 45 minutes to an hour later. And she tried to give him the Pedialyte, the rest of the Pedialyte. He did not want it. Then around like 6:30, 7 o'clock, I went to the bathroom. I came out from the bathroom and I heard like water hit the floor. I was like, what the heck? And Anthony was in his crib and I thought he was sleeping, and obviously he wasn't. He was puking. There was just like clear puke like everywhere. It was like all over the floor, all over the sheets, all over him. I had to hit the button, and the nurse came in. She helped me clean up and change him, and then she's like, we gotta call the doctor and see what the doctor wants us to do, blah blah blah. So after that, she made me aware that we're not gonna do Pedialyte no more. We're just gonna try the formula feedings and see how it goes from there, and we're gonna do them every 3 hours. And I was like, all right. So then we started the formula. He started getting better. He wasn't puking anymore. He wasn't spitting up. He was starting to burp again. And he was just getting back to his normal self the next day. Like after he got enough sleep, and they lowered his IV from 22 to 16, which helped tremendously with him eating. So finally, they were like, oh, you might get to go home today, because now it's Sunday, and John had gotten Genevieve ready to go back to his mom's and prepped, because we didn't know if we were leaving, what time we were leaving, and if I was going to have to stay another night. It was up to the surgeon. So once John dropped off Genevieve and came back up to the hospital, he allowed me to actually leave the room and go to the cafeteria, because I hadn't left the room or like been towards the door of the hospital in like 3 days. So I went and I walked around a little bit. I had to get like my visitor's pass, because they didn't give me a visitor pass for every day that I was there. I was supposed to get a visitor's pass. The security guard was like, where's your pass? And I was like, I never got one. I've been here for like 3 days. So they got me one, and then I got food. I brought it up. We were just waiting on the surgeon and like the clearance to go home. So I was like, if I'm gonna go home, what time is it gonna be? It was like 4, 5 o'clock when we got to go home. Thank goodness they did release us, because he was holding down everything. The surgeon's like, oh, if you feel comfortable going home, you can. Just follow up with me on Friday, and we'll go from there. And if you have any questions or concerns, you just call, and if there's an issue, you'll have to come back or whatever. And I'm like, all right, yeah, I feel comfortable. He's holding his food down. He's starting to become himself more. So I'm comfortable. I just really want to go home. So when we left, we were able to go home, and he's just been his normal self. Thank God that's over with, because I didn't want to have to do the 3-hour feedings anymore, where I had to make sure that he didn't puke. If he did puke, I'd have to start the 3 hours from then. And normally he just eats when he's hungry. I don't really do the timed thing, because like if he gets a little hungry early, like obviously I'm gonna feed him. I'm not gonna overfeed him or anything like that. Like he is a big boy and he wants to eat when he wants to eat. If I kept to the 3-hour thing, he'd be miserable, because we were only giving him 2 ounces, and now he's up to like 3 ounces. Almost, he's gonna be up to 4 soon, because he likes to eat. And now he's past his weight that he was when we went to his 1-week doctor visit. So I mean, he's should be more than he is, but with the surgery and stuff like that and the losing of the weight, he obviously has to continue to gain the weight back. But they're not worried about his weight at the pediatrician, because we followed up on Friday. We did go to the surgeon's office too, and the surgeon's office gave us the clearance. He said he's doing good. His incision site looks good. We're able to give him a bath if we want to. We just can't submerge his incision site because it still is healing. So sorry, scenery change. I stopped the video because I have to run to Target. John just got home, so I get to go to Target by myself in our new car. And yes, there'll be a video about the new car. It's not going to be like a very luxurious video. It's just kind of like a, hey, we got a new car video. But we don't have to see the surgeon anymore unless there's an issue. His incision will finally, the stitches will like disappear, and he'll have a scar, but eventually it'll get like not noticeable. So he's on the mend, and we don't have to worry about him anymore right now. Just keep checking on his incision, just keep taking care of it, and that's it. So hopefully we don't have any more scares with him, and he doesn't have mom and dad freaking out no more. All right, anyway, I'm gonna go, and we'll see you soon. Bye.